You didn't stumble onto this video by accident. Something guided you here. And if you've been seeing the same numbers repeating everywhere, on clocks, on receipts, in random moments that felt too precise to be coincidence, this is exactly why. Tesla said that if you want to understand the universe, you have to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And the numbers 3, 6, and 9 sit at the very foundation of that pattern. Tonight, you're going to activate that same frequency inside yourself, not through forceful effort or exhausting manifestation rituals, but through a simple, repeated practice that works directly with your subconscious mind while you sleep, wake, and move through your day. If 333, 555, or 999 have been following you lately, stay with me, because by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly what they've been trying to tell you. If this is landing exactly where it needs to right now, hit subscribe, because daily frequency activations and manifestation rituals are waiting for you here. Drop a like if you've been seeing these numbers more than usual lately. And before you go, comment below and tell us who you're sharing this with, what numbers you've been seeing, and which part of the world you're watching this from. Because this activation is reaching people across every corner of this earth tonight. There is a reason you have been seeing the same numbers repeating themselves across your day, on clocks, on receipts, on license plates, in random moments that seem too frequent and too precisely timed to dismiss as simple coincidence. And if you have found yourself here, watching this particular message, it is worth considering seriously that this video did not arrive in your life by accident. The 369 frequency this message will guide you through activating is rooted in a principle that Nikola Tesla himself is famously said to have described, that if you wish to understand the secrets of the universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, and that the numbers 3, 6, and 9 hold a particular significance within the underlying mathematical and energetic structure of reality itself. Whether you approach this teaching through the lens of ancient sacred geometry, through modern quantum physics, and its exploration of vibration and frequency at the most fundamental levels of physical reality, or simply through your own direct, lived experience of noticing these particular numbers appearing with unusual persistence in your daily life, the underlying invitation remains the same. Something within you is being called toward alignment, toward a frequency of abundance that exists not somewhere distant and inaccessible, but within your own consciousness, waiting to be activated through focused attention and intentional practice. To understand why the numbers 3, 6, and 9 specifically carry this particular significance within manifestation and vibrational alignment practice, it helps to examine the mathematical properties that distinguish these numbers from all others within the base 10 numbering system most cultures use today. When you multiply any number by 3, 6, or 9, and continue reducing the resulting sum to a single digit through repeated addition of its individual digits, you consistently arrive back at 3, 6, or 9 themselves, a mathematical pattern that does not hold true for any other digit within this same numbering system. This property, sometimes described within sacred geometry and numerology traditions as evidence of a kind of self-sustaining, foundational energetic pattern underlying the entire numerical system, is precisely what led Tesla and subsequent researchers exploring vibrational and energetic principles to attribute particular significance to these specific numbers, viewing them as representing something like an underlying skeleton or fundamental structure supporting all other numerical relationships within this system. Whether or not you find this mathematical explanation personally compelling, what matters most for the practical purposes of this activation is understanding that this 369 method draws on both ancient numerological tradition and more contemporary interest in vibration and frequency as fundamental, organizing principles of physical reality. Combining these threads into a practical technique designed to shift your personal vibrational state toward increased alignment with abundance and manifestation. This brings us to an essential clarification worth addressing directly before proceeding further into the specific mechanics of this practice, because popular manifestation culture sometimes presents techniques like this one in ways that create unrealistic expectations regarding direct, magical causation between simply writing down numbers or repeating specific phrases and the automatic arrival of desired external outcomes without any additional effort or genuine internal transformation required. This is not an accurate representation of how genuine manifestation practice, understood through a more mature, psychologically grounded lens, actually appears to function based on both ancient wisdom teaching and more contemporary understanding of consciousness, belief, and behavior. What this 369 practice actually offers is not a magical shortcut that bypasses the genuine internal work required for lasting transformation and aligned action, but rather a specific, structured technique for shifting your underlying vibrational state, your habitual patterns of thought, emotion, and belief regarding abundance, and your own worthiness to receive it. Patterns that then naturally influence the choices, actions, and opportunities you notice and pursue within your ordinary daily life. Understood this way, the 369 method functions less like a magic spell and more like a precise, repeated practice for reprogramming subconscious patterns that may have previously kept you unconsciously blocked from recognizing or receiving abundance that was, in many respects, already available to you, had your underlying beliefs and vibrational state been sufficiently aligned to notice and receive it. The divine feminine energy this practice draws upon deserves particular attention, because understanding this dimension of the teaching helps clarify why this particular approach to manifestation differs meaningfully from more masculine-coded, forceful, or aggressively willful approaches to manifestation that sometimes dominate popular self-development and abundance culture. Divine feminine energy, within this tradition, represents receptivity, intuition, flow, and trust, qualities that stand in contrast to, though not necessarily in opposition to, the more masculine-coded qualities of direct action, forceful pursuit, and aggressive goal achievement that dominate much of conventional success and abundance teaching. This distinction matters significantly for understanding why this particular 369 activation emphasizes relaxation, subconscious reprogramming, and energetic alignment rather than simply providing another list of aggressive action steps or productivity techniques for pursuing abundance through sheer willful effort alone. The divine feminine approach recognizes that genuine abundance often flows most readily not through forceful, anxious grasping toward desired outcomes, but through a more receptive, trusting alignment that allows genuine opportunity and abundance to arrive with considerably more ease than exhausting, anxious effort typically produces, precisely because this receptive alignment addresses the underlying vibrational and subconscious patterns that either support or block your capacity to recognize and receive abundance when it actually appears within your life circumstances. This is worth exploring further because the relationship between subconscious belief and manifested reality represents perhaps the most significant, practically important dimension of this entire teaching, deserving careful, detailed examination rather than superficial mention. Contemporary psychology has extensively documented how much of human behavior and decision-making occurs through automatic, largely unconscious processing rather than through deliberate, conscious reasoning, with research suggesting that the vast majority of your daily choices, reactions, and even your perception of available opportunities occurs through these largely automatic, subconscious processes rather than through careful, conscious deliberation. This matters enormously for understanding manifestation practice, because it suggests that your conscious desires and stated goals regarding abundance may matter considerably less for your actual outcomes than your underlying, largely unconscious beliefs regarding your own worthiness to receive abundance. Your fundamental assumptions regarding how difficult or easy abundance typically is to achieve, and your habitual emotional patterns regarding money, opportunity, and success that were likely established early in your life through family patterns, childhood experiences, and cultural conditioning may have never consciously examined or questioned. The 369 method, understood through this psychological lens, functions as a specific technique for directly addressing and gradually reshaping these underlying subconscious patterns through consistent, repeated practice. The basic structure of this practice, which subsequent sections of this exploration will detail more specifically, involves writing a specific affirmation or intention statement 3 times upon waking in the morning, 6 times during the middle portion of your day, and 9 times before sleep in the evening. A specific pattern of repetition designed to work with your mind's natural cycles of alertness and receptivity throughout the day. The morning repetition, occurring shortly after waking while your conscious, analytical mind has not yet fully engaged with the day's demands and distractions, offers a particularly receptive window for subconscious reprogramming, precisely because your mind remains in a more relaxed, less critically analytical state during this transitional period between sleep and full waking consciousness. Similarly, the evening repetition, occurring shortly before sleep, takes advantage of your mind's natural transition toward the more receptive, less critically analytical state associated with approaching sleep. A state contemplative and hypnotherapy traditions alike have long recognized as particularly conducive to subconscious suggestion and reprogramming. It is worth addressing directly why simply thinking these intentions, rather than physically writing them by hand, matters significantly for this practice's effectiveness, because this distinction, while sometimes dismissed as unnecessary or overly ritualistic by skeptics, actually reflects genuine understanding regarding how different forms of engagement with language and intention affect subconscious processing and integration. Physical writing engages your body directly in the practice, requiring sustained, focused attention for the duration required to actually write out your chosen phrase multiple times, in a way that simply thinking the same phrase briefly does not require or produce. This sustained physical engagement appears to create considerably stronger subconscious integration than purely mental repetition, likely because the physical act of writing requires and produces a different quality of focused attention than passive mental repetition typically involves, engaging additional neural pathways associated with physical movement and sensory feedback that pure mental repetition does not activate to the same degree. This is why this practice specifically emphasizes physical writing rather than simply mental repetition or affirmation. Recognizing that this particular physical engagement appears to produce meaningfully different, generally more effective results for the kind of subconscious reprogramming this practice aims to achieve. The specific content of the affirmation or intention statement used within this practice deserves careful consideration, because the quality and framing of this statement significantly affects how effectively this practice addresses the underlying subconscious patterns requiring genuine transformation, rather than simply stating a specific desired external outcome, such as a particular dollar amount or material acquisition. This tradition typically recommends framing your chosen statement around the underlying feeling, state, and identity you associate with genuine abundance, recognizing that external outcomes ultimately flow from internal states of being rather than existing as separate, independently achievable goals disconnected from your underlying vibrational alignment and self-concept. A statement like, "I am worthy of ease and abundance flowing into my life," addresses this underlying identity and feeling state directly, rather than fixating exclusively on a specific external outcome that may or may not represent the most aligned, genuinely beneficial form abundance might actually take within your particular life circumstances. This distinction matters significantly, because fixating too narrowly on specific predetermined outcomes sometimes inadvertently limits your capacity to recognize and receive abundance that arrives through forms or channels you had not previously anticipated or specifically requested. While focusing on the underlying feeling state and identity of genuine worthiness and ease allows considerably more flexibility for abundance to manifest through whatever specific channels prove genuinely most aligned with your authentic path and highest good. As this first chapter draws toward its conclusion, it is worth acknowledging honestly that genuine transformation through this practice, like any authentic form of subconscious reprogramming and vibrational alignment, typically requires consistent, sustained practice over meaningful time rather than producing immediate, dramatic results from a single day. or even a single week of engagement. The subconscious patterns this practice addresses typically developed over years or decades of accumulated experience and conditioning. And while genuine shifts can and often do occur considerably more quickly than the original time frame required to establish these patterns, expecting complete transformation within days or even a few weeks sets an expectation. This practice, however genuinely effective when practiced consistently, was never designed to meet. The chapter that follows will explore the specific, detailed mechanics of this practice in considerably greater depth, including exactly how to structure your morning, midday, and evening writing sessions, how to select and refine your specific affirmation statement for maximum effectiveness, and how to recognize and work with the angel number signs, including the 333, 555, and 999 sequences this message's description specifically mentions, that frequently accompany and confirm genuine progress through this particular activation process. Having explored in the why the 369 method draws on both ancient numerological tradition and genuine psychological principles regarding subconscious reprogramming, it becomes necessary now to walk through the actual mechanics of this practice in sufficient detail that you can begin engaging with it directly, along with addressing how to recognize and interpret the angel number sequences, particularly 333, 555, and 999, that frequently accompany genuine progress through this activation process. This chapter will guide you through each stage of the practice itself, address common questions and obstacles that arise during genuine engagement with this technique, and explore what these specific angel number sequences actually represent within this broader framework of vibrational alignment and manifestation. The practice begins each morning, ideally within the first several minutes after waking, before you have engaged with your phone, checked messages, or allowed the day's practical demands to fully activate your analytical, critically evaluating mind. During this window, you will write your chosen affirmation or intention statement exactly 3 times, using pen and paper rather than typing on a device, allowing yourself to genuinely feel the words as you write them rather than mechanically producing them as quickly as possible simply to complete the required repetition. This distinction between mechanical repetition and genuine, felt engagement matters considerably more than most people initially assume, because the subconscious reprogramming this practice aims to achieve depends significantly on the emotional and attentional quality you bring to the writing itself, not merely on the literal number of repetitions completed. Writing your statement while genuinely feeling into the emotional truth of what you are affirming, even if this feeling does not yet fully match your current circumstances, produces considerably more effective subconscious integration than rushing through the same words without genuine emotional engagement or presence. At some point during the middle portion of your day, ideally during a natural pause in your activities rather than forced into an already overwhelming schedule, you will return to this same practice, writing your chosen statement 6 times. This midday session serves a somewhat different function than the morning and evening sessions, offering an opportunity to consciously reconnect with your underlying intention during a period when the day's practical demands and distractions may have already begun pulling your attention away from this deeper alignment work. Many people find this midday session particularly valuable precisely because it interrupts the accumulating mental noise and reactivity that typically builds throughout an ordinary day, offering a brief, deliberate return to conscious intention and alignment before the day's remaining hours continue unfolding. If your particular circumstances make a formal midday writing session genuinely difficult to arrange, even a brief pause to mentally recall and silently repeat your intention 6 times, while less ideal than physical writing, can still provide meaningful benefit. Though physical writing remains the recommended approach whenever your circumstances genuinely allow for it, the evening session, occurring shortly before sleep, involves writing your chosen statement 9 times, taking advantage of your mind's natural transition toward the more relaxed, receptive state that typically precedes sleep. This final session of the day carries particular significance within this practice, because the state of consciousness immediately preceding sleep has long been recognized across both ancient contemplative tradition and more recent hypnotherapy and psychological research as a period of heightened receptivity to subconscious suggestion and reprogramming. Whatever thoughts, beliefs, and emotional states occupy your attention during this transitional period tend to receive disproportionate weight within your subconscious processing during the subsequent hours of sleep, making this evening writing session particularly significant for reinforcing the deeper subconscious shift this practice ultimately aims to achieve. Many practitioners of this method report that engaging fully and genuinely with this evening session, allowing themselves to feel genuine gratitude and anticipation regarding the abundance they are affirming, produces noticeably different results than treating this session as simply another item to complete before falling asleep without genuine emotional engagement. It is worth addressing directly several common obstacles and questions that frequently arise as people begin genuinely engaging with this practice, because anticipating these difficulties helps prevent the discouragement that sometimes leads people to abandon genuinely valuable practices prematurely, before sufficient time has passed for meaningful results to develop. One common difficulty involves genuine skepticism or internal resistance arising while writing statements that do not yet match your current external circumstances. A kind of internal friction between what you are writing and what your rational, analytical mind currently believes to be true regarding your actual situation. This resistance, rather than indicating that the practice is failing or inappropriate for your circumstances, actually represents a natural and expected part of the process, reflecting the genuine gap between your current subconscious programming and the new patterns this practice aims to gradually establish. Rather than forcing yourself to feel complete, unwavering belief in your affirmed statement from the very first day of practice, which represents an unrealistic and ultimately counterproductive expectation, it helps considerably more to approach this resistance with curious acceptance. Simply continuing the practice consistently despite this friction, trusting that consistent repetition gradually shifts underlying subconscious patterns even when your conscious, analytical mind continues expressing reasonable skepticism regarding immediate, dramatic transformation. Another common question involves how specific or general your chosen affirmation statement should actually be, given the earlier discussion regarding the potential limitations of fixating too narrowly on specific predetermined outcomes. A useful approach involves crafting statements that combine genuine specificity regarding the underlying feeling state and identity you are cultivating, while maintaining sufficient openness regarding the specific form this abundance might ultimately take within your actual life circumstances. A statement like, "I am aligned with ease, abundance, and opportunities that support my highest good," provides considerably more useful direction than an entirely vague, generic statement about wanting good things to happen, while still maintaining sufficient flexibility to allow abundance to manifest through channels and forms you may not have specifically anticipated or requested. This balance between meaningful specificity and genuine openness represents something of an art that develops through your own direct experience with this practice over time, rather than a fixed formula that applies identically to every person's particular circumstances and genuine desires. Turning now to the angel number sequences, this practice's description specifically mentions 333, 555, and 999. It is worth exploring what these particular sequences represent within this broader framework, and how genuinely engaging with this 369 practice often coincides with increased noticing of these particular numerical patterns throughout your daily experience. Within numerology and angel number tradition, each of these sequences carries particular symbolic significance that connects meaningfully to the broader themes this 369 activation addresses. The number 333 is frequently associated with growth, expansion, and the presence of supportive spiritual guidance actively assisting your current process of development and transformation, suggesting that whatever changes and challenges you may currently be navigating are unfolding within a broader context of genuine support and forward movement, even when immediate circumstances might feel uncertain or difficult. The number 555 typically signals significant change and transformation actively unfolding within your life, often appearing during periods of genuine transition when old patterns, circumstances, or relationships are shifting to make space for new alignment and opportunity. Precisely the kind of transformation this 369 practice aims to actively support and accelerate through consistent subconscious reprogramming. The number 999 frequently represents completion, the culmination of a particular cycle or phase of development, suggesting that whatever process you have been navigating is approaching a natural conclusion that will make space for an entirely new chapter or phase of experience to begin. Whether you understand these numerical patterns through a literal, mystical framework involving direct communication from angelic or divine sources, or through a more psychologically grounded framework involving increased pattern recognition and confirmation bias regarding numbers, your subconscious mind has become primed to notice through your engagement with this teaching. The practical significance for your own practice remains largely similar. Noticing these particular numbers with increased frequency as you engage with this 369 practice can serve as a meaningful, encouraging confirmation that your attention and subconscious processing are genuinely shifting in the directions this practice aims to cultivate, providing helpful, motivating feedback that supports continued consistent engagement with the practice, even during periods when external circumstances have not yet visibly transformed in ways that might otherwise provide this same kind of encouraging confirmation and motivation. It is worth addressing honestly, as this exploration approaches its conclusion, that engaging with this 369 practice does not replace the genuine value of aligned, practical action within your actual life circumstances. This practice functions most effectively not as a replacement for genuine effort, skill development, and practical engagement with real opportunities as they arise, but rather as a complementary foundation that supports your capacity to recognize, pursue, and receive these opportunities with considerably greater ease, confidence, and alignment than you might otherwise access without this deeper subconscious and vibrational preparation. The most effective approach combines this consistent, dedicated practice with genuine attention and responsive action toward whatever practical opportunities and circumstances actually arise within your ordinary daily life, allowing the internal alignment this practice cultivates to inform and support increasingly confident, aligned action within your external circumstances. Rather than expecting this internal practice alone to produce external transformation without any accompanying practical engagement and effort on your part. As this toward its conclusion, it is worth recognizing that this practice, and the broader human capacity for genuine transformation and alignment with abundance it represents, connects to a fundamental human potential recognized across countless cultures and traditions throughout history. Regardless of the specific language or framework any particular tradition uses to describe this same essential human capacity for conscious alignment and manifestation. Wherever you currently find yourself as you receive this particular message, whatever country, whatever region, whatever specific corner of this earth currently surrounds you, this same fundamental human potential for genuine abundance and aligned manifestation exists within you, exactly as it exists within people occupying every other location across this entire planet. So as this chapter closes, I want to ask you directly, from which part of the world are you receiving this message today? What country? What region? What specific corner of this earth is currently holding you as you begin this 369 activation practice? Leave a comment below and share where you are watching from, because this practice deserves to become a genuine gathering of people from every part of this earth, each of you beginning this same alignment toward abundance tonight. Regardless of the particular geography, language, or circumstance currently surrounding you.